Okay, so we should now be streaming this live. This is our Rose of Westhaven campaign. When we last left our band of religious zealots / heroes, they were exploring the Kelderburn Forest because unfortunately Wulfric previously had got into gambling debts with a shady customer known as Pesh Pritchard. Pesh Pritchard, it turned out, had a deal going with several customers, as he referred to them, where they'd request rare and exotic creatures and he would arrange to procure them. In return for forgetting about Wulfric's debt, he asked the young noble to go into the rumouredly haunted Kelderburn Forest, where a strange creature, which they believe is called an Equinian, a sort of reptilian winged horse creature, dwells. This creature has a large sort of club tail that it uses to subdue its enemies, and that tail is in demand to be fashioned into maces by a lord who lives several leagues further south as gifts for his personal guard. They went into the Kelderburn Forest. After exploring around for a while, they discovered what appeared to be a cairn with a small wooden horse in front of it, where they eventually were able to track down, thanks to Tiberius's extremely proficient tracking skills, a centaur-like creature known as Samson, who told them a tale of woe about his mother having ridden on this almost celestial-looking white steed. The steed then disappeared. She discovered she was pregnant several days later and was driven out of her village of Otterdale. She retreated to the Kelderburn Forest and gave birth to this centaur-like creature. She did not live long afterwards, perhaps as a result of the birth, we don't know. But when she died, her son, Samson, buried her and built this cairn, and occasionally he leaves these small wooden carved horses as like a memorial to her. The group discussed whether this creature had a soul and whether it was in fact some sort of abhorrent creature, and in the end Primus left his copy of the Church of Westhaven's holy book that he'd been given with Samson, and Dane decided that the creature being sort of half man was not beyond redemption, and they left him in peace and continued their explorations. As the party continues north, they can just glimpse smoke over the trees and hear the sound of shouting voices in the distance.
Can I see any particular tracks?
Oh, I tell you what, make me a tracking roll.
Yeah, get that poop.
That's it, get that scoop. Well, it wouldn't be a session if Rob's character wasn't picking up poo, would it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me know if you succeeded.
I have.
Examining the tracks that he's discovered, Tiberius is able to work out that a small group of approximately 4 men or similarly sized individuals passed this way previously. They were making some attempts to be stealthy, unlike our party of heroes who have been romping through the wilderness. Peering at the tracks cautiously, he calls Dane over to him.
Dane,
yeah, what do you got?
Some tracks.
I'm sorry, you have to speak a little louder.
I'm sorry, there's tracks. It looks like there's four people been travelling through here, moving very stealthily through the underbrush.
Maybe they're adventurers. From
like I say, from just beyond the sort of trees, you'd estimate like about a mile or two away, you can hear
but it looks like there's trouble ahead, so we should hurry and get over there.
Moving quickly, our heroes head in the direction of the fracas, and as they move through the trees, they spot what appear to be 2 wrecked wagons, one of which is on fire. A voice comes from inside the other wagon, and there are a couple of dead soldiers and horses lying nearby. The wagon defenders, 2 remaining soldiers, appear to be under attack by these strangely pallid, white-faced people dressed in tattered white robes. Okay, so As you're watching, you can see these figures appear to be heading towards the non-burning wagon. Two of them engage with the guards and begin fighting them. They appear to be armed with short swords, and you can hear the clash of their weapons as this melee breaks out.
So, John, just to clarify, these bandits, you said they, at least that's what I took from it. They look kind of sick.
Not so much sick, but they have like almost like these sort of like ghostly white faces, and like I say, their clothes that look like they were once like made out of white fabric, but obviously they're streaked with dirt and like grime from living in the forest.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, are we gonna fight some plague dudes? 'Cause that seems like a bad idea.
No, that's fine.
Let's rub up against them.
Okay, so I'm going to hand the initiative over to Dennis as the leader of the group.
They're probably just on that. Okay. How is movement? Is it like 5 per square?
Yeah, it's 5 per square. The measuring device should work and should show you the correct measurements.
Can I ask a little thing before?
Yep.
Because we made new rules for backstabbing. Does this mean if the fight started, I can't backstab anymore?
Basically, you'll be able to backstab until they're sort of aware of you, like once you've engaged. So you can get in and get like your first backstab off as long as they don't see you. But then once you've done that, they'll be aware that you're about, so you won't be able to do it.
Okay. I'm just asking because if that would be the case, I would like to go first, but in that case, it's do whatever.
I'm fine. If you want to go first, go first.
Okay.
How many? How far can we move?
It's 40 feet.
Yeah, it depends on how much you're carrying.
Yeah, I can basically just reach one of these two. So I will just try to reach this one and try to backstab it.
Okay, go for it. They're not aware, so you don't have to make a test and like move silently because they're fighting and everything. They're not looking for you.
Okay. I'm wearing my sword in one hand and a throwing axe in the other.
Absolutely grand.
Okay. And attack.
He is an ex-cultist after all.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly. What do I roll again? It's a d20, right?
Yep. Okay.
I've got a... Do I have an attack bonus? Not yet, no.
Okay, you've still hit, so roll your damage. Obviously include your backstab damage in it.
Yeah, that's 2 times weapon damage, so it's 2d6.
Go for it.
6 damage.
Okay, so you have severely injured this guy. You've not killed him, but you've like... He's probably not got a great deal more in him. You know that like a couple of blows like that probably would have finished him off. So describe how you creep in and you make your attack.
Yeah, just try to move from tree to tree, and in a moment when he's obviously distracted from fighting the soldier, I just rush in, and while he doesn't really know how to defend, I would just hack my sword on his side and draw blood.
Indeed. So you wait until he's just like parrying a blow from the hand axe of this soldier. You run in and drive your sword into his side. He lets out a howl of pain and like drops down onto one knee. You can see he's like struggling to... He only just managed to keep hold of his sword. You can see like the soldier's obviously trying to like press his advantage now. He's seeing like his foe's down and he's like lifting up this hand axe he's holding, trying to obviously finish the job off. Who would you like to go next, Primus?
I think Dane.
Alrighty, I'm gonna shoot my longbow at this dude. And I forgot how to do that clicky thing.
You just click and hold down your mouse button.
No, well the bandit that Primus. No, the other one.
Okay, go for it. You're attacking the one that Primus has already injured. Okay, so again, he is not quite dead, but literally he's like on his last gasp.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna shoot him again. I have 2 rough with a longbow.
okay, so you're firing your longbow. You see one of your arrows sink into him. However, just as your second arrow is like through the air, he sort of like falls down onto like both knees, and he like lowers his head as he's sort of like falling down, and your second arrow whistles through the space his head would have been in had he not tumbled over.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you like to go next?
I think Ulfric.
I'm probably like at the back of our little caravan here with the mule, and well, I see that the shit's going down, and there's a whole bunch of people there. I've reached into like a saddlebag on the mule because I bought those as well.
Mm-hmm.
I reach into a saddlebag, bring out a tome, and like quickly like flip some pages and start intoning this formula from the book, and I like close my eyes. And John, this is fairly simple. You know their hit dice.
Yes.
It's those 4 dudes, the bandits. So if they have 2 to 3 hit dice, which I presume that they do because they took some damage, I would roll 2d6 for how many people are affected. Would that be like how many hit dice do they have?
Yeah. Roll 2d6.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so all 4 fall down and sleep with no saving throw whatsoever.
Splendid. Okay, so as Wulfric finishes intoning this arcane chant, there's a series of like dull thumps as these 4 bandits fall to the ground. A few moments later, there's a soft snoring, which is briefly interrupted when the soldier here sinks his axe into the head of this one here and kills him. You notice like the other soldier appears to have like stopped. He's looking like a bit uncertain and a bit bewildered by what's happened. A few moments ago, they were in like this fight to the death with these bandits who beset their caravan, and then suddenly the bandits were all just like, "Oh, it's nap time." With Wulfric's spell having put all of the bandits into a deep slumber, the party waste no time moving in and quickly rifling the bodies of the remaining bandits, while the guards begin to finish off some of the slumbering assailants. During his searches, Primus finds a strange sword, the blade appearing to be caked in blood, with a skull pommel and finger bones for the handles. Picking it up, he carries it over to Wulfric, thinking that his colleague might have some idea what this item is. Okay, so Primus brings you over this sword with this strange sort of
after I roped all these 3 other guys
yeah,
out.
that's fine.
Of course.
Brings you over this sword, like I say, with this skull and these crossbars that look like finger bones, and the blade is absolutely like caked in blood.
So it's actual bone, or is it just like shaped like finger bones?
It looks like it's just shaped like bones. It's not actual bone itself. It's made out of metal, but it's been very finely crafted to resemble like finger bones and a small skull.
I throw the pouch with the 50 gold to Dane, by the way.
Okay, yeah, small pouch sails through the air, Dane. You catch it one-handed, 50 gold pieces.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Okay, so Wulfric, you've got this strange-looking sword.
Mm-hmm. Is it obvious what it is, or do we do the whole Forbidden Lore thing?
I'd say you'd have to make a Forsaken Lore roll.
Yeah.
So roll your d6, 1 or a 2.
Yeah, it's a 6.
Okay, so you're not entirely sure what it is. You suspect it maybe has some sort of like minor enchantment on it just because of the fineness of the work. And obviously people don't normally spend that amount of effort on just like your bog standard sword. However, if you're going to find out anything more about it, you'll probably have to do it via like trial and error. But you do also notice, as I said to Primus, that the amount of blood on the blade is like unusual. I mean, this is a fairly small skirmish, as this thing looks like someone's been slaughtering their way merrily through people like, all night long.
So I'll, like, while everything else is going on, I'll do like a couple of experiments, like just because it's caked with the blood, right? So I'll like take it to a tree and just like try to get the dried blood off the blade, and just to see like does the blade just.
Okay, the blade
like
appears
bleed?
to bite in quite sort of like heftily into this tree, but as you saw it back forward, you pull it out and you see that like all the blood seems to be like where it was on the blade.
So, okay, next test, I'll get like a stick or a stone and try to just like break the dried blood off it.
Okay, you try that. The blood remains on the blade.
Do the
Okay.
other 3 also have these swords?
No, they appear to have like normal short swords.
Okay.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that I'll like try different things to make the blood react in any way, but like I'll end up just like strapping the thing to the mule and just mentioning to like passerby like we're not touching that thing. It doesn't seem very safe.
Okay, you try a few things to remove the blood, like wiping it, etc., none of which are successful. One thing you do notice, when you actually look at the blade, the blood on it looks like it's fresh, rather than being like dried on the blade. But like whatever you do, you don't seem to be able to like clean the blade.
Yeah, I'm strapping into the mule.
That's absolutely fine. While this is going on, what's Tiberius doing?
Well, I probably would have secured the first bandit that I reached, and went to check on the soldiers' well-being, because obviously they were in a melee beforehand, making sure that they're not too wounded.
Okay, they seem okay. They seem more shaken than actually injured. Although you can see there are like another 2, as I mentioned previously, sort of like dead soldiers who obviously bore the brunt of the initial attack. You can see there's like a couple of like crossbow bolts sticking out of the bodies that are on the floor, and they have like these slice marks across them showing that they've been in battle. Roll me a d6, Tiberius. Okay, one thing, you're looking around and something's like a little bit odd, like sort of tickling the back of your mind. You can't quite put your finger on it. And then as you look across, you just see like Primus sort of like rifling these people's bodies basically and like checking all their weapons, etc. And you realise that none of the people on the floor actually have a crossbow.
I'll kind of calmly walk over to Dane upon that realization, and just kind of stand beside him, and notably not trying to make a fuss or anything. And Dane, there seems to be a lot of people who've been killed with crossbow bolts, but none of them seem to have crossbows. I think there might be some others in the woods.
Dane orders Tiberius to try and track down the bandits that he believes are lurking in the woods. Moving back over to re-examine the tracks that they originally followed, he eventually spots a single set of tracks that appear to break off from the main group of the bandits and head towards one of the large trees nearby. Shouldering his weapons, he makes for the tree, and as he gets near it, spots someone nestled amongst the branches. Okay, so as you're heading towards the tree, there is a from the top of the tree, and a crossbow bolt sinks into the floor near your right foot.
On that, I'll obviously firstly look up there and see if I can see wherever that shot came from.
You can indeed, as you look up, see inside of the sort of like inside the canopy of the tree, there appears to be a man crouched down. You can see he's like reloading a crossbow bolt, you think, from his movements.
How difficult would it be for me to climb the tree?
Not terribly difficult, to be honest. I mean, I'd probably ask you to make a strength check. So obviously you're all armoured up. You're not exactly like equipped for climbing. but there wouldn't be any penalties or anything.
Okay. Now, when it comes to strength checks and things like that, is it...
You roll a d20, you need to get equal to or below your strength.
Okay, I will give that a go.
Can we hear this, by the way?
Yeah, you obviously you'll hear Tiberius moving across. You'll probably all hear the of the crossbow. Then you'll definitely hear him climbing up into the tree, which he does successfully. Obviously, we're sort of back into combat rounds now. So, Tiberius, who would you like to go next?
Wolfric. Make it nap time.
It's always the same choice now.
Yep.
Well, so you like yell out, I suppose, like.
It probably more. I'm not kind of that worried at this point about one bandit, so it's more just kind of grunting and sounds of strain coming from the tree.
But if the sounds of strain are enough to, and the sound of like the sort of rustling of the trees and the creaking of the branches as he climbs up, if they draw your attention in that way, you will see there's like a crossbow bolt like sticking out of the floor, like near to the tree.
He's probably just out collecting squirrel shit or something.
Yeah. So John, is this like a blazing inferno here? The other wagon?
Yeah, it looks as though someone's put a torch to the other wagon, and it is on fire.
Yeah. I can't really go there with the mule. Well, I guess I'm gonna go check out what's going on here, and we see.
Yeah, and as you look up, you can see your brother sort of climbing up through the tree, and you can just about make out this figure appears to be sort of doing like this motion. So up in the tree, you can hear like the sound of like a mechanism clicking as obviously someone's trying to reload a crossbow.
Tiberius, have you noticed that there's a man about to shoot you with a crossbow up in that tree?
He's missed once already, brother.
Okay.
I am not going to throw a torch, but
Appreciate that.
I'm gonna try and just. I have a dagger, so I'll try and like fling the dagger up the tree to this guy, presuming he's not like massively like. Is this like a giant tree?
It's a normal sized tree. So you find flinging the dagger up. I will say there's a -1 penalty because obviously there's lots of branches and stuff in the way. We'll go for it.
Yep. 1 die modifier -1. 5. No, that's not a hit at all.
Okay, your dagger whistles through the trees, just narrowly missing Tiberius's right ear, and disappears somewhere into the foliage. A few moments later, there's a punk as it drops down on the opposite side of the tree.
He doesn't need your help, brother.
Who would you like to go next, Wolfric?
Dane, or who started the thing? I suppose let Tiberius because he found the bad guy. Yeah. So Dane.
Okay, Dane. Obviously, you've heard this commotion going on by the tree down there with Wolfric and Tiberius.
How? I mean, can I shoot through this the trees here and still hit the dude?
I would say if you're going to shoot at that, sort of try and shoot through the tree, you would have a -2 penalty. So obviously you're trying to shoot upwards into a tree, and you're trying to shoot it through a point where there's not like branches and stuff in the way.
I'm gonna try to do that.
And obviously, if you miss, remember there's a chance you might hit Tiberius who's climbing up the tree.
A chance?
Yeah.
I've got a surplus of hit points right now. So.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I'll just be the one who kills you, and that will really be bad karma. He will just run over here, and that's what he does. That's his movement.
Okay, that's fine. Obviously, we've only got Primus left. So, Primus, what are you doing?
I did hear Tiberius screaming something like he doesn't really need help.
Yep.
I ignore it. I just watch them and see what he's doing because he's basically my mentor and I am to question him.
Okay, that's fine. So we're going to move on to the NPCs. Okay.
And now the 10 other crossbow bolts fly in.
Okay, Primus, a crossbow bolt sinks into the ground here, just to the left of you. It seems to be coming from this tree here.
Okay. We didn't even ask my armor class.
Nope. These aren't hardened killers. These are just like highway robbers, effectively. Okay, the one who is that you're sort of drawing level with, Tiberius, he's not finished reloading his crossbow, so he's just going to try and swing it at you and hit you with it rather than trying to fire it. Okay, he catches you a glancing blow as you draw level with him, inflicting 1 hit point of damage as his crossbow sort of clips your forehead as you climb up, so deduct 1 from your hit points.
1 hit is my favourite number of hit points.
Okay, so make sure you've altered that.
I have.
Okay, splendid. So, I will pass over to you, Tiberius.
How high would you guesstimate we are, John?
I'd say you're about sort of maybe 20 feet up.
20 feet, okay. Effectively, he just kind of clocked me with the...
Just to point out, by the way, Rob, going forward, you'd actually changed your maximum hit points rather than your current hit points. So I've corrected it now.
Cheers. You mean I can't lose health forever?
Well, we'll get on that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's still a possibility. Let's not rule it out.
Yeah. Okay. Effectively,
Basically, the scene at the minute, if you imagine there's a huge branch, the bandit was crouched against the trunk of the tree, sort of continuing upwards, reloading his crossbow. You just climbed up onto the same branch. He's lashed out, caught you on the forehead, but you've managed to clamber up onto the branch.
yeah. Effectively, Tiberius was kind of climbing up in a kind of a quite, not necessarily even aggressive way, just kind of heading up there to go and hold the guy or just try and subdue him in some manner. And as he's reached him, he's kind of been clocked with the crossbow, and he's just kind of looks a bit more miffed and annoyed. So with this kind of gauntleted hand, he's just kind of trying to grab hold of him and just throw him off the tree.
Okay, so make an attack roll. Don't worry too much about the damage. I'll say if you would have damaged him, then you've effectively flung him off.
Number of sides on the damage dice.
Just put 1.
leave it. 1.
Okay, so that's fine. You grab hold of this guy and you're just flinging him off the tree, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So this guy gets sort of thrown out of the tree. There's the sound of a cry and then the as he smashes through branches on the way down. Can you roll me? Go ahead.
Oops, I was just gonna shout. I'll shout "Look out below, Ulfric!"
Timber!
Roll me 2d6, please, Tiberius, for the amount of damage this guy takes as he falls.
Oof.
No.
Okay, so this guy hits the ground. He actually lands in an awkward stance. Lands on one of his arms, and you hear this of snapping bones. You can hear a sort of faint as he's lying on the ground, but he doesn't. He's still sort of moving a little bit, but he's obviously like taken severe damage from this. He looks as though like he's one step away from the grave.
Okay.
Okay, so who would you like to go next?
Wolfric, please.
So the bandit comes crashing down. I'm going to like circle the tree,
Yep.
get my dagger if I can see where it is,
Yep.
and like tuck it back into the sheath. So the bandit is sort of like laying down there, going like, "Oh God!"
Yeah, he basically looks as though like he's broken his arm and like both of his legs. By the way, they're sort of sticking out at odd angles, and he's like,
Yeah. I'm just gonna like get one of the. Did the branches break and fall with him?
they did indeed, yeah.
So I'll like get one of those, and I'll like put it on him, like on his chest, and then sit
like,
on the branch. So I'm gonna like put like his body is here. I'm gonna put the branch here, and I'm gonna sit here. So I'm just gonna like sit on him to make sure that he doesn't crawl away.
Okay, you see like a sort of thin dribble of blood like come out of the corner of his mouth as he sort of groans as you do this. But yeah, he's not going anywhere. Okay, who would you like to go next, Wolfric?
Let's see. So Dane is coming in with the rapid fire bow. Well, I guess because he's closest. So just Dane next, and I'll yell up into the tree like, "You got him, Tiberius! He looks in a bad way."
Okay, Dane.
This is the only bandit left, right? This dude. I mean, that we know about.
Yeah, that we can see. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll go over here and.
You can see as you get there that like Wolfric's laying this like large branch across this guy's chest and is sitting on the end of the branch and he's like lying underneath it, a bit of blood down the side of his face, like both of his legs broken, one of his arms broken.
I think he's done for.
He looks as though a strong wind could finish him off at the minute.
Now, if we amputate both of his legs, I think they're both broken, and probably the arm as well, because we can't see that, so it's probably under him in a very very bad state. He stands a chance. The medicine does know examples, and that's just prattle on.
I will lower the bow and draw my sword and just.
He's going to finish him off.
Yeah.
Or the quick solution is not always the wrong one.
Yeah, no problem. You step across. He doesn't even have strength to like scream or anything. It's just like a sort of like as you slide your sword into his throat and finish him off.
Good work, Tiberius.
Okay, and then we move over to Primus.
Okay. Can I grab this guy and use as a human shield and still attack this other guy here? With my thrown axe?
Yeah, it's a thrown weapon, so you grab this guy round sort of like this to hold him, like round the neck, and then you're throwing your axe. Yeah, I say you've got a -1 penalty because if you're trying to hold the guy and sort of do that, but you can do it.
No problem. Not really.
Okay, unfortunately, you're like trying to struggle with the weight of this guy. Your axe just sort of sinks into the trunk of the tree. You don't get enough sort of height on it, so it's sort of like at ground level in the trunk of the tree, so retrievable.
I just scream while I do it. If you try it again, I will kill him. And I hold my sword to the neck of the guy I'm holding.
Okay, so he is going to try again. However, I'm going to say he's got like a 50-50 chance of like hitting the guy that you're using as a shield.
No honor among road agents.
So if he gets a 4, 5, or 6, he's hit the other bandit. Okay,
Nope.
No, he's managed to hit you. So roll his attack. Okay, so a crossbow bolt sinks into your shoulder, causing you 1 point of damage.
Okay.
I mean, not that I'm complaining, John, but you are rolling 1d1.
Well,
Uh,
he's
yeah,
a really shitty crossbow.
I know what I'm doing wrong, but to be fair, it was my mistake, so we'll stick with it for now.
it's
But no, thank you for pointing that out to me.
I assume we can hear that now
You
and have
can
a
indeed.
rough idea.
So
I screamed to this guy, so you should hear it, at least that.
yeah. I'm going to hand over to Primus to go first, unless you wish someone else to go first.
Since he attacked, I will kill this guy I'm holding.
That's
I
absolutely
will
fine.
just cut his throat with my sword.
No
That's
problems.
that's on you, and I scream to him. I assume I can't attack afterwards, so I would just hold him again as my shield.
Okay, who would you like to go next?
Since Dane is the best archer here, we'll give it to him.
Okay, it's over to you, Dane.
It's the only one, but then
The best range combatant.
I want to shoot that dude. Do I have any penalties on that?
You will have a -2 penalty, because obviously he's like covered by foliage and you're firing up into a tree.
Yes, sir. Rolling. Rolling again.
Okay, one of your arrows, or two of your arrows, like into the tree, but you don't think you managed to hit him.
No, well, that's rapid fire for you. You shoot a lot, but you don't hit a lot.
Indeed. Who would you like to go next?
I think Tiberius. It's our man.
The guy's crossbow, did that fall down with him, or is that up in the trees?
It fell down with him.
Okay, well, in that case, I will start gingerly climbing down the tree.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can sort of sprightly spring down the tree. You land next to your brother, Wulfric, and Dane, where they're sort of stood around the dead body of this fellow that you flung from the tree. And I think we've only got Wulfric left now, so Wulfric, over to you.
So, well, I suppose I look to Dane and Tiberius and just go, "Well, what should we do?"
Obviously, you guys can talk, even though we're in like combat rounds. That's fine.
Okay, so out of character question, do we know about his magical abilities?
Yeah, well, he went into like a sanctioned wizard school in Great London, but
Okay. Well, don't you have any magic? Then throw it at him.
it doesn't quite work that way.
Okay,
Yeah,
fling it at him.
magic, possibly a rock.
I could fling my books at them, I suppose. I would rather not. They would not appreciate them the way I do.
He does not have the power of literacy.
So, barring any...
But just keep low and stay out of the crossbow fire then.
Okay. Right, John. So, I will actually head back to my mule.
Okay, no problems.
Yeah, so I'll just go there. Whoop.
Okie dokie. Then we'll move on to the NPCs. Okay, so you can see Primus from where you are that this guy looks like he's reloading his crossbow. And then I will pass over to you as the first person.
Okay. I will drop this guy I'm holding. And try and draw another one of my hand-thrown axes. I've got two of them.
Okay, as you're drawing your hand axe, you see the soldier here who's next to you. He takes out his own axe and he finishes off this guy here.
Okay.
He
I
just
don't care.
hacks his head off.
And I'm trying to throw it and then maybe hide behind a wagon or something that I don't have line of sight to me anymore.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, attack first. Again, do I have any hindrance, any malus?
You'll be at a -2.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, you throw your axe, but you've misjudged it. It actually just like sticks into the wagon like a few feet in front of you.
At least it's retrievable.
Oh yeah, you just reach out and grab it back, no problem.
Okay. Just for variety, this time I will go with Tiberius.
Okay, Tiberius, you're at the bottom of the tree. You can obviously, like, as you're looking across, see sort of Primus huddling down by the wagon, the crossbow bolts near him, etc. You've seen that the soldiers just finished off one of the bound bandits. Primus seems to have done for another one.
I will reach for the gentleman's crossbow that fell out of the tree. Hopefully it's intact still.
It seems to be. I'll try to maybe a d6 roll. If you get anything but a 1, it's intact.
We can see what this is going to roll out.
Okay, you reach over to it, but it's like in bits.
I like pick it up and like, of course it is. Just kind of start running over there. How many squares can I get?
Well, it's each square's 5 feet. You can move 40 feet.
Okay. I'll start hightailing it towards. Oh, hang on. I can go diagonally, can't I?
Yeah.
To there.
Okay, no problem. So Tiberius sprints across the trade road towards the shadows of the tree. Who would you like to go next?
Dane, please.
Alrighty. He will run up here, shout to the people, "Don't kill the last bandit, you idiots!" And I'll shoot this one again.
As you say, don't kill the bandit shoulders, you see one of the soldiers look over towards this like slightly foppish, bearded-looking individual, and he's like, "Well, yes, you heard him."
Do I still have a -2?
Yep.
Alrighty.
Okay, you fire an arrow, it goes and disappears into the foliage. You fire another arrow, and this one, it appears as though, like, obviously exposure to like the moisture, perhaps in Otterdale Valley, has got some of your arrows. And this one, as you sort of pull it out and you draw it back, the arrow actually like snaps in two and like falls to pieces.
Yeah, the feathers just come off.
Okay, so
Alright.
it's Wolfric. Is anyone left?
Just gonna go back to my meal. Wait it out.
Okay, over to the NPCs. Right, so the bandit has finished reloading his crossbow. Obviously, Tiberius is more of a threat now. Primus is crouched down by the wagon, whereas this huge armoured person hurtling towards his tree is definitely more of a threat. So I'm going to roll an attack for him. Okay, so that a crossbow bolt zooms towards you, Tiberius. It hits your armour and like ting, bounces off. And I'm going to pass over to Tiberius.
Well, I will start my standard act and move over to the tree and start climbing.
Okay, that's fine. You start climbing up the tree. Make me a strength check.
Yep.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You start climbing up through the tree. You can see this guy above you again. He's like reloading his crossbow. Who would you like to go next?
Primus.
Okay. I will pull out the hand axe that stuck right before me and try to throw it again.
Okay, -2 penalty. Go for it.
A 15.
That hits, so roll your damage.
I assume it's no sneak attack, even though,
No,
so
definitely not a sneak
1d6.
attack.
Ah.
Okay, so Tiberius, as you're sort of drawing level with this guy, an axe hurtles through the foliage, and it just sort of like, he twists aside to dodge it, sort of stumbling a little bit, and it grazes the side of his face as it zooms past him and disappears.
Good show, Primus, nearly.
Yeah. And Dane.
Okay, Dane.
Because Wolfric doesn't do anything.
Alright. If I move here, can I see the bandit without shooting up Tiberius behind?
Yep, Tiberius hasn't actually finished climbing up yet. He's just drawing level with the guy. You can see the bandit sort of reloading his crossbow.
That's what I want. Still mines too?
Yep.
You know, at some point I will hit. Oh my god. No.
Okay, so Tiberius, as you're climbing up, you see a couple of arrows go up into the foliage, but they don't appear to find their marks. So I believe that's all of the players gone now, or has Wolfric still got to go?
Yeah, Ulfric's still got to go.
Okay, so Wolfric, it's over to you.
Just waiting.
Okay, so we go into the NPCs. Rather like the last one, he's not had time to reload his crossbow. You rather than swing at you with the crossbow, you see him draw a dagger. He like drops the crossbow. There's like a as it falls down through the branches. He draws this dagger and he's trying to shank you as you're climbing up, Tiberius.
Sorry, please ignore.
It's fine. Okay. As he sort of leans out to try and shank you, Tiberius, he unbalances himself and almost falls off the branch. He corrects it and maintains his footing, but it throws off his attack and he doesn't manage to get you. So I'm going to pass over to Dane.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. Let's shoot.
That hits. So as you're watching Tiberius, you see one arrow sort of stick in this guy's side, and the second one unfortunately misses. However, this guy is sort of slowly being worn down by this. Who would you like to go next, Dane?
Tiberius.
Okay, Tiberius, you're on the same branch with this bandit. He's got his dagger out. There's an arrow sticking out of his side. He like pulls it out and drops it.
Yeah, imagine like as he's kind of pulling it out, it worked well for me the last time. I'll just try and, while he's paying more attention to that, grab him and give him a throw. Okay,
now I will let you know that if you fail to throw him, because unlike the other one who just had like a crossbow, this guy's actually got like a bladed weapon. If you fail to throw him, he will do you some damage with his dagger. So just be like,
yeah, that's fine.
Make your strength check.
Just a strength check, not an attack roll.
Oh, sorry, an attack roll. Yeah, apologies.
That's right. Oh.
Okay, you don't manage to hit him, and he sinks his dagger into you as you're trying to throw him, causing you 4 hit points of damage. So Dane, from where you are on the ground, you see Tiberius move in and sort of grab hold of this guy by his clothes, and as he does so, this guy just like leans over him and shoves his dagger into Tiberius's back. You see blood running down through one of the chinks that he's found in his armour. Who would you like?
He is brave but stupid.
Who would you like to go next, Tiberius?
Primus, please.
Okay. Since I don't really have any choice anymore, I will throw my daggers, even though they almost do no damage, but okay. I assume -2 again?
Yep.
Okay. 12?
Okay, that is just a hit, so roll your damage.
2.
Okay, so an axe hurtles upwards.
No, it's a dagger. It's a dagger.
A dagger, sorry, my mistake. A dagger hurtles through the trees from below, slices this guy and disappears into the foliage. He lets out a grunt of pain. Wolfric, are you just holding your position near the mule?
I suppose I will until like someone starts yelling real loud.
Okay, no problems. So we move on to the NPCs. The bandit, obviously having seen what you attempted to do, Tiberius, and thinking, oh, that's a good idea. And since you're already sort of struggling backwards and forwards in that Star Trek fight style way, he's just effectively going to try and sort of gain the upper hand and throw you out of the tree. So same mechanics as for you. He's going to make an attack roll. We'll ignore the damage, but obviously if he succeeds, he's thrown you out of the tree. Okay, he has most definitely thrown you out of the tree. And you take 4 hit points of damage. So, Dane, as you're watching, you see this bandit grabs Tiberius, throws him off the branch. There's like a... as he falls through the foliage and lands heavily on the floor below. You see the bandit look around as though he's like looking for his crossbow, then like remembers he's dropped it, and he sort of hefts his dagger in one hand. Okay, and I'm going to pass over to Dane.
He loads an arrow on the bow and points up. All right, enough of this. I can shoot you from here, or you can get down, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, you hear a sort of gruff voice on the tree going, yeah, we haven't been doing so much of a good job of it so far, have you?
Have it your way. Twang.
Yeah, that hits him. Another arrow like thuds into him in response for his sass. You see him slump back against the trunk of the tree, like your arrow's sticking out of his chest near where his heart is. Your second arrow sinks into the trunk just next to his head. But you can see he's like slumped down on this branch against the trunk. He's like breathing quite heavily. There's blood running onto his white clothing.
You see how this is gonna go?
Okay, you hear his sort of like ragged voice. He sounds like maybe you've like punctured one of his lungs or something. He's like quite breathless. And he's like, oh, all right, I'll surrender.
Then climb down.
Okay, you see he slowly like climbs down out of the tree, although he's having quite a great deal of difficulty due to like the arrows sticking out of him and the various...
While he does that, I'm gonna go over here and just give a glance to my buddy Tiberius.
I rush over and try to see how hard he's hurt.
Okay, so Tiberius, describe what they see when they get to you.
Imagine Tiberius is laying just kind of like on his back, kind of in the starfish, kind of nice fleck of blood coming from the side of the mouth, and he does look quite badly damaged.
Is it in the system binding wounds? Is this still a thing?
There is. You can bind wounds once and restore 1d4 hit points.
I tried to do that. 1d4.
Yep. Regain 1 hit point, Tiberius. Okay, so as you guys...
It's a magical one.
As you guys are doing this, you hear what you presume to be the merchant shouts, "You there, men! Secure that robber! We'll have some words with him, or we'll have his tongue, by God!" And you see the 2 soldiers sort of run over here and they start binding the injured bandit up. The soldiers protecting the caravan finish binding up the bandit, while the merchant emerges from the ruins of the cart to inspect the damage done to his wagon train. He introduces himself to the heroes and is extremely grateful for their aid in saving his goods. He also makes mention that this isn't the first and only attack by bandits in this area.
So you're saying that's a lot of bandits here, and they're all dressed up in this ashen outfit.
The noble's like drawn his hand back, ready to like slap this guy again, and then he pauses and he turns around and he says, "Why, yes, it's become quite the nuisance recently with merchant caravans getting attacked on the road. That's why I brought so many guards with me, and I believe the Lord of the Midder Castle has guards patrolling this." The trade route, but it's not possible to patrol it all. It's just too damn long. But their attacks, they've been far too organised. They've got to be working for somebody. And then he finishes his slap on the guy again.
Do they all look like this? And I point at the white robes and the makeup.
The merchant says, "Well, yes, I believe so. I suppose they're trying to capitalise on the rumours about this forest being haunted and such tommy rot.
The lord of that castle, John, is that Lord Tameworth?
No, it's not.
And John, the other bandit, could I get any of his bolts as well?
Yeah, you find another 10 bolts. Okay, so Dane, make me an intelligence check. Let me know if you succeed.
I do not.
Okay, you vaguely remember hearing something about the Lord of Midcastle being sort of like quite the military man, but you've never really met him. You don't really know much more about him.
Okay. Well, I suppose we could track them down, find out the lair, the hideout.
The merchant, Ludovic Malrond, explains that he's sure if the heroes were able to put a stop to these dastardly bandits, that the Lord of the Midcastle would be extremely grateful and would not hesitate in showing his gratitude, no doubt in some sort of financial manner. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of the wheezing Tiberius, suffering greatly from the injury sustained in the previous combat. After a bit of discussion, Ludovic agrees to break out one of his healing salves from his supplies and give it to the party in gratitude for all of their help. Stepping off to one side, Tiberius strips down out of his armour and begins to rub the thick unguent onto his injuries, soon feeling vitality and energy flowing back into his limbs, restoring him somewhat.
I say, Dane, this unguent, it's fantastic. I feel like a new man.
We'll praise the one true God for looking after his servant.
Indeed, says Ludovic. It's quite handy that. Extremely expensive. I keep a supply whenever we travelled in case any of my men get injured. And then he looks at the two dead bodies on the ground and he says, unfortunately, Deborah, it's far too late for these poor fellows. Then he sort of turns around to you, Dan. He says, I hate to ask this, given that you've already done so much for us, but you seem a man of priestly virtue. Would it be too much to ask for you to say a few words while we bury these poor fellows?
Not at all, Tiberius.
With the help of the remaining guards, the two dead warriors are buried a short distance off into the woodlands, their fellows taking small stones and marking their resting places by laying them out in the shape of a cross. Tiberius says a few words of consolation and prayer over their bodies and graves, whilst he exhorts those warriors to give thanks to God for preserving them and encourages them to place their faith in the one true God as they proceed forwards towards their destination. Indeed, and as you're finishing this, the merchant, sort of like turning to you, Dane, since he's assuming that you're in charge, says, now we have only these two rapscallions. What do you suggest we do now, Witchfinder?
How far is the trek out of the woods?
It's many leagues. It's one of the old Goman roads. It's quite a journey. That's why we have the supplies. Although sadly, most of them have now perished in the burning wagon.
Have you ever heard of more than one bandit assault on a stretch?
He says, well, I've heard of numerous attacks. I don't know whether they're all down to these particular bandits or not. I dare say with a little bit of time that I could have my men see if they can recapture the two horses that bolted, and we could proceed with just the one wagon. One of the you there, man. Do you think you could right this wagon while he goes and looks for the horses? He's like, yes, I think so, sir. It doesn't look too badly damaged. Should just about make the trip.
Then we'll go to the wounded bandit.
Yeah, he's still being like held up by one of the guards. He's like,
how many are you?
he's like, oh, just what you see here.
Just a small crew.
Yeah, it's just us.
So, any rivalry with the other gangs?
He's like, what other gangs? I don't know what you're talking about.
They told me there's a gang of 8.
I don't know where you heard that of, but they must have been mistaken.
Well, how many are you?
Just what you see here.
Well, I need a number, man.
There's only the 7 of us.
Well, if this
Can you make me a
fellow is telling the truth, you should be safe-ish.
Okay, make me a wisdom roll, Dane. Let me know if you succeed.
Probably not, but I can try. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Wisdom is not something you learn at the Witch Hunter Academy.
No, it's not important. I would just go next to Dane and ask him if I should try the enhanced interrogation techniques and draw a dagger.
Go ahead.
I would go next to him and try to take the knife directly to one of his finger cups, and I'm like, "Are you sure?"
Okay, make me a charisma roll.
Sure.
I'm going to give you a +2 bonus to that, so your charisma counts as being 2 higher.
Okay. So basically everything below a 17. Yes.
Okay, so in the sort of shoddy state that this guy's in, you've only literally just like a paper cut on his finger before he's like, no more. I'll talk. I'll talk. Whatever you want.
I'm looking again at Dane.
Want a number?
He says, there's about 30 of us in all. We're all spread out through the forest.
There you go. How difficult was that? Are there any sorcerers among you?
No. Philip doesn't hold with any of that.
Where's your base?
Hang on. Did you say Philly?
Philip.
Philip.
It's like, we've got an encampment in the forest. If you promise not to kill me, I'll take you there. Just let me go and I'll tell you where it is.
Okay, sounds fair.
He nods. You can see he's sort of struggling for air slightly.
I just slightly loosen his reins so he can breathe a little bit better, because he said what he was supposed to say.
No problem at all. He says, "Yeah, it's about 15 miles to the camp, give or take."
In what direction?
He says, I'll give you the directions, but you got to promise to let me go.
Of course.
I'm not going to be with you when you get there. I'm not letting Philip know that I turned him in.
That would probably be bad for you. We'll let you go.
He says, well, head to the northeast till you see the tree that looks like a bent over, crooked old man, and they continue east from there. After a couple of miles, you'll find it.
To the east?
He says to the northeast, and then when you see this tree, you continue to the east for a couple of miles.
Right. Okay. I take out the arrows from him,
15 miles, did you say, right?
15.
and just to be a nice guy, I'll mend wounds.
Okay, roll a d4.
So somewhere around here.
And effectively, yeah.
Yeah. I would just mark it on the map.
The man sort of coughs as you're binding his wounds, but he does appear to be slightly recovered. You said you let me go, right?
Uh-huh.
But you can't go back to your encampment. You have to find something else.
No fear, I'm not going back there. I'm not going to know that I turned him in.
Good.
Oh,
Obviously, if we find you there, we will kill you.
Oh, you won't. No fear, you won't see me again.
If I hear about you being up to no good in any nearby villages, I will find you and kill you. You have to remedy your ways. But that's the price you pay.
Okay, are you unbinding him and letting him go?
Yes. Well, I'll untie the rope because rope is
Yeah,
fucking
please.
expensive.
I still want my rope back. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
John, can I approach the gentleman as he's being unbound?
Yep.
And we're like, I understand you've probably done this because it's seems like the easiest path. But you've been given a second chance by the church. Possibly you should go to the church and return the favor. They would openly welcome.
Okay, make me a charisma roll.
Will do. Oh, well over. I am charismatic as hell.
Okay, he looks at you and he's like, yeah, I'll do
No one
that.
is buying it today.
I'm looking at Tiberius. Couldn't you give him a letter, an official letter from the church? We should have seal rings.
Okay,
From the
unless,
church?
unless you're restraining this guy, he's like, fucking hell.
Okay.
Is that heading back down the trade route and
I'll
disappearing?
kind of like be talking to Private going, yeah, certain. Oh,
It doesn't matter.
seems like he.
Okay, Ludovic. It seems like there's many more bandits in the woods.
Well, if you can bring a stop to them, I'm sure that the great lord of the Midder Castle, Lord Sir Gregory Hogstead, will richly reward you. I'm planning to continue on there myself. I should certainly tell anyone I see, anyone of stature, of course, of the bravery you have demonstrated here today and how we wouldn't have made it without you.
Goes, excuse me, sir. Have you seen any of these creatures? Equines, is it?
I don't know what you're talking about, my fellow.
A lizard horse.
He sort of gives you like a skeptical look, and he says, "I fear your injuries may have addled your mind, sir. I mean, no offence, but a lizard horse-like creature, the very idea of it."
I'll just shake off.
I wish you Godspeed. And may he provide protection on your continual journey.
As you're having this discussion with him, Dane, and he's sort of doing general chit-chat, one of the soldiers, the one nearest to you, Tiberius, steps up and he sort of like, he puts a hand on your shoulder and he says, could we just step aside? I could have a private word with you, sir.
Oh yes, of course, me.
And he sort of like takes you aside a little bit. Wulfric, you're like nearby, so you can hear this. And the soldier sort of like leans in a bit and he says, "No, I don't really want this getting out, sir. I don't want to be a laughing stock amongst the other fellows. But I did hear legends from the local people that one of the local hunters ranging out from the Midder Castle was travelling out just as the sun was coming up one morning, and he swears he saw a winged horse-like creature emerge from the canopy of the forest, fly up towards the sun, so he lost sight of it with the brightness of the sun, and then he heard the sound of it returning and disappearing back into the canopy. I don't know if that's any good to you, sir, and I'd appreciate if you didn't reveal that I'd told you this. Like I said, I don't want to be a laughing stock.
Oh, of course not. I greatly appreciate the knowledge, and
It's the least I can do after you tended to our friends. And he gestures back at the graves.
he's like, it was my pleasure. Could you give me a rough bearing of which direction this location would be?
He says, well, it would be on the northern border of the forest. That's where I know the hunter was. I don't have an exact location. The poor fellow was barely literate, a little bit rough around the edges, obviously quite shocked by what he'd seen. It wasn't an exact description, but yes, it'd definitely be on the northernmost borders of the forest. He wouldn't have travelled too far within. They're scared of ghosts and haunts and whatnot.
Okay. Thank you, and I will give him a non-church pushing blessing for his information.
He nods in thanks as you do so. Okay, what's the plan, guys? You can see that the soldiers start getting the cart turned over. One of them disappears into the forest to try and track down the horses that bolted.
Does any one of them have this makeup with them, which they appeal to themselves?
You continue rifling through the bandit's possession. You do find a small pot. It looks like it's chalk mixed with maybe like some tree resin, and it's like a sort of powdery white paste.
Okay, I take this for my disguise, just in case.
Not a problem.
Also, I try to memorize the voice of this one bandit we let go.
No worries. So you guys still have one bandit who's snoozing away, tied up.
Should we take him with us?
No, that's too risky.
Well, if you don't want to take him with you, says Ludovic, I'll quite happily have one of my men guard him, and we can take him in the cart and deliver him to the authorities at the Midder Castle.
That's okay, we're the authorities.
Okay. I will collect my ropes again, and
I'll wake him up before you do that.
Okay, so he starts waking up and he's like, oh, what's going on? And then he sort of like, his eyes widen as he looks around and sees like this, how much has changed since he had his little nap. As far as I remember, when he went to sleep, he was like, yeah, we're just about to kill these guys, everything's going great. Then suddenly, like, there's like graves, there's like bodies, a couple of his like people aren't even visible, the cart's been righted, and he's like, oh. And he's just like looking around like dumbfounded.
Does he have like roughly the stature of Primus, this one?
He's maybe a little bit more muscly, but yeah, approximately.
I have a strength 15.
Yeah, he's only a little bit more muscly than you, but
Okay.
he's probably like a strength 16.
Okay. I need a name. What's your name?
He says, Richard.
Okay. Primus.
Or
I
not.
suggest you disguise yourself as Richard. Now, Richard, do you feel like changing your ways?
What do you mean? He says he still looks quite bewildered.
Well, we could go down on two paths here. One would entail you high-trailing out of the forest, away from your friends and Philip. And I kind of see if I can, detect that.
So he goes, how do you know about Philip?
The other is you strip down, naked, and we kill you.
Okay, make me a charisma roll. You get a +2 bonus, so your charisma counts as 2 higher for the purposes of this test.
How does that work? I rolled a 9, so
Okay.
What's your charisma?
10.
Okay. So at which point, as you're sort of like, you can mend your ways, or he's like, yeah, I swear, I'm on my ways.
All right.
I'm looking at him. Do you guys have any kind of password or anything to identify when you come closer to your encampment?
He says, yeah, there's a call we're using. He sort of puts his hands close to his mouth and he imitates like a bird call.
I memorized that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you come from? And I just ask him basically all details I might need to know if I want to impersonate him.
Yeah, he gives you his whole backstory. The highlights being he was caught for thievery in the outer district of the Midder Castle. He was on like a prison cart, sort of like awaiting his sentence, when this guy, Philip Bathurst, he refers to, sort of broke out of the cart and took him and like a load of other prisoners with him. And they all sort of moved into the forest and they became these bandits, sort of preying on people. It was Philip's idea to like make the paste and dress in white so that more superstitious people would think they were ghosts and they wouldn't pursue them when they melted back into the forest. He gives you his tale of woe that he was effectively, he was like a very poor person. He was starving and he tried to like steal like a few loaves of bread and he was caught for it and like thrown in a prison cart. So, which he considers to be terribly unfair. So when this like Philip Bathurst was like, oh, let's get some revenge on these people who are like imprisoning us for the smallest of crimes while they keep all the wealth, he was like one of the first to sign up.
Now is your way to redeem yourself.
He seems to be quite overcome by like, obviously the change of situation. He knows something's amiss because he just like nodded off while he was about to attack this wagon, and obviously your veiled threats have sort of impressed the gravity of the situation on him. And he's like, yeah, just tell me, what do I need to do?
Tiberius. Good as hell.
Yeah. I think that us sparing your life today means that you should go back and dedicate yourself to the church.
He's like nodding enthusiastically while you're like saying this, and then he sort of like he pauses for a few moments. Make me a charisma roll, please.
Yep.
You gain a +2, so your charisma counts as 2 higher for this.
I'm pretty sure that is still in the bin. Yep. No sale for the church today.
Okay, he looks around, then he sort of like looks at you, Dane, and he says, "Well, you're from the church, aren't you?"
Yes.
He says, "Well, how about I come with you? Surely that be a good way of like mending my ways? If this fella says I've got to like work with the church, and well, you're from the church."
Okay. But you understand that this is what he is offering you is a nice living in a cloister, a monastery, what the fuck it's called.
He says, I understand, but he says, look at me.
3 meals a day.
He says, look at me, I'm not really cut out for that sort of lifestyle.
Okay, well, we can always use one in our retinue, right, Tiberius?
Quite. Not exactly what I was intending, but still doing the church's work. Even though, are we sure he's not going to try and turn on us today?
Are we able to assure of that?
No, I swear I wouldn't. I'm going to mend my ways, just like you said.
I'm sure Richard understands that the risk of going up against several armed men, and he is just one, is...
He says, oh no, I've seen the blessing of the Lord's with you. Otherwise, how could you have overcome us so quickly? It must be the blessing of the Lord.
I'll turn to him and be like, do you swear? Do you swear on the name of God himself?
He's like, yes, I swear. Like literally like falls to his knees and he's like holding your hand.
I'm just mumbling, your yes be a yes and your no be a no, do not swear, and I'm just Nothing else. I'm just mumbling that.
Oh, well, Richard, welcome on board.
Accompanied by their reformed bandit, Richard, the group wish fond farewells to the merchant Ludovic, whose wagon has been righted, one of the horses having been gathered, and he begins making his way off down the trade route. The group, waving him farewell, continue on their explorations into the Kelderburn Forest, heading northeastwards, camping at intervals. They eventually, as they move parallel to the trade route and it starts getting dark, start looking around for a place to camp. Whilst they're doing this, both Tiberius and Wulfric discuss Wulfric's use of magic in the previous encounter. Tiberius explaining that it was extremely helpful and obviously was a blessing of the Lord, and despite Wulfric's apprehension, explains that he's sure Dane would make an exception in his case due to the fact that he was using his talents for a righteous purpose. The conversation is interrupted when Primus and Dane spot two small glowing red eyes glaring out at them from below a bush up ahead.
Red light.
That doesn't sound good. Dane will casually get his longbow out in his hand.
Yeah, same thing with my throw axe. Just grabbing it behind my back. Did I see something like this? Red light anywhere before?
Well, it looks like that two sort of like glowing red eyes underneath the bushes. As you watch what appears to be a large black wolf, so about twice the size of a normal wolf, and it has pretty much like a deer carcass like by the neck, and it's like dragging it along. It sort of moves out onto the trade road in front of you. It lets go of like the deer carcass, which like lands with like a wet thump, and then it sort of looks up at you. You can see like blood splattered all over its muzzle.
It's already dark, correct?
Yeah, it's very difficult to see this thing, but you can see like its eyes appear to be like glowing slightly red.
I would have my lantern out. Does anyone else have a light currently? Does anyone have a torch or something? Open fire.
I do have a lantern.
Kind of time of day is it, Wise?
It's like it's the evening. It's just starting to get onto like night proper. It's at sunset, or just after. Sorry.
Yeah, I probably would have a torch lit as well.
I don't think I have it lit since he's carrying his.
I pointed Tiberius and would wave him to me and pointed the torch. Maybe we can scare it away.
I'll be chatting to Wulfric probably like somewhere towards the back. But
you guys sort of realise they've stopped when you like bump into the back of the rest of them. You've been quite happily like chatting. And he's like, oh,
yeah, scare what away?
I pointed it.
Oh, I'll just kind of like step in front and like wildly wave my torch around.
I'll just casually nudge an arrow.
I try to do the same with my lantern, maybe just screaming or whatever.
Okay, as it sort of like regards you as you're sort of like making this noise, you're holding your lanterns up and you've got your bow ready, etc. And then in a sort of very like gruff, like rumbling voice, you hear it go, "Man." Then it picks up, it reaches down with its mouth, picks up the deer carcass, continues across the road, and like disappears into the trees.
Just be very confused, like, did that wolf just speak Dane?
As the creature disappears into the undergrowth, Wulfric explains that he believes what they have just encountered is a dire wolf or a warg, a semi-intelligent prehistoric giant version of the more common wolf. A few worried whispers are exchanged between the group about whether the thing is getting reinforcements or perhaps circling around to return for a future attack.
If it wanted to attack us, it would have done. So let's count our blessings and just let it go.
I'm just whispering, or it just wanted to distract us from the rest of the pack.
Making camp for the evening, the night passes fairly uneventfully, with each of the group taking turns on watch. Whilst on watch, Wulfric is accompanied by their penitent bandit, Richard. During the course of his watch, Wulfric explains to Richard that he doesn't necessarily trust him, and in order to prove the depths of his repentance, he must enter into a blood pact with the Magus. Richard doesn't seem keen on this at all, stepping slightly away from Wulfric as he hears about these devilish magics, and he realises that that is what overcame his fellows. However, given his precarious situation, he is eventually forced to agree to enter the blood pact. Wulfric, adopting the pretense of slitting his own hand, actually just smears some of the blood from the strange sword they discovered earlier on one of the bandits onto his hand, and gets Richard to lick the blood, reasoning that if there are any ill effects from it, it will affect the bandit before any of his fellows. The rest of the evening passes uneventfully, and they get ready to set out the next morning. You guys all wake up the next morning. You're all feeling refreshed. The evening, aside from the sighting of the wolf, the evening has been fairly uneventful, aside from like minor infernal shenanigans that went on during Wulfric's watch. But otherwise, the sun starts rising. You could hear the birds singing in the forest. Continuing their explorations, with Tiberius taking the lead, trying to put his renowned tracking skills to the test in the search for these mysterious and seclusive Equinians. They eventually stumble across a large series of tracks which seem to belong to some hitherto unknown huge species of humanoid. Perhaps, who knows, maybe even one of the mythical giants.
Well, Tiberius, I don't feel going towards, well, let's just say it, a giant.
Yes, what do you think we should do? We need to pursue this creature, but
I think someone needs to talk to Wulfric about his gambling habits.
Well, yes, but I think that it partly is to do with his rather extravagant lifestyle spent in the schools he attended.
Schools, reading.
But
Oh, but you've got Dane there who's like, it might either choose to beat the knowledge into you.
Yeah.
I'll turn to Wulfric and Wulfric, do you hear speak of any kind of giants being in league with these lizard horses?
John? Dark giant lore?
You know what to do.
Read them books.
No, we're hitting the high marks today. It's a 5, so no.
Well, the tracks go in that.
Obviously, if you wanted to make that roll again, you'd have to come across some sort of like further evidence or something.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not aware of any links between the Equinian and giants.
Let's say we come across these beasts.
I don't know how it would work anyway.
Would your tricks work on these beings?
Yes. Could you put one of the giants to sleep?
See, there's the thing. A trick is, and like I take out a coin and try to do the like bouncing it on your knuckles and just fail immediately. I was like, well, anyway, you can imagine the rest. Look, that's a trick. The other thing is rather more involved, and if we're not talking about your regular, let's say, dog or a man, such as we had in the forest, Richard, Richard, my friend, he is such a man.
He's sort of like, hello, but he looks like a bit warily at Wolfric when he's like, Richard!
I can't say for sure.
After camping for the evening and tucking into a hearty breakfast of hard biscuits and cheese, the group resume their search, and eventually Tiberius is able to locate a series of tracks that appear to belong to horses or horse-like creatures. They follow them, crossing back over the trade route and continue further into the forest. Eventually, as they move through the trees, they spot what appears to be this strange winged reptilian horse-like creature, an Equinian, surrounded by a group of 10 other creatures of similar makeup. They are surprised when they hear the beast addressing the other Equinians, but decide to remain hidden. So, what do you have to report? At which point one of the other Equinians says, well, we've managed to keep them to the lakes so far, my lord, but I fear their influence will spread soon unless more can be done. But we can't enter their domain. Obviously, we are not built for it. Yes, I quite understand that, but we must prevent them from spreading beyond the forest. They've already, now these humans have set themselves up near the fallen statue of the saint. I fear the water lords will attempt to influence them and expand their influence beyond the Kelderburn. We must seek to prevent that if at all possible. Yes, of course, my lord, I understand. Wolfie says, then you all have your assignments. Fly and return to me on the morrow and tell me of your works. At which point the 7 Equinians leap, so gallop and leap into the air. There's a of their wings beating, and they fly up above the canopy, leaving just a single one of them remaining.
I will approach the Lord of the Beep.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. What are you doing as you approach?
I will simply step into its line of vision and present myself.
Okay, it sort of takes a couple of sort of half-trotted steps backwards like horses do when they're sort of like trying to reverse.
We mean no harm. And I hold up my right hand to indicate I'm not holding a weapon.
It regards you cautiously.
I'll just move myself into the killing line. My name is Thane Asher.
In a sort of quite cultured and sort of almost educated to your ears, Wolfric, voice, the Equinian says, and I am Gregalian Arfenwist of the Dark Boughs.
Can you type that out?
Yeah, in fact I can just copy and paste it from my notes.
Thanks. That is quite the name.
Yeah, he's from the East Coast, Dark Bows.
Yeah. Greetings.
And what brings you into the Kelderburn? Most of your kind fear to enter within, or at least to stray from the road.
We are tasked with hunting down what we might call monsters.
Then I should advise you that there is a small tribe of large creatures to the northwest of here in a small cave system who cause much damage to the forest.
Would these be the ones leaving the big footprints?
Yes.
We saw those.
Indeed, there are many of these clumsy brutes.
Do you know of any giant wolves that speak as you and I speak?
I believe you're referring to the wargs. Yes, there is a pack of them in the Kelderburn, but they generally leave me and my kind alone.
Have you and your kind ever... By the way, does it have that tail?
It does indeed. As you're sort of like looking it over as you're talking, you can see it's got this large sort of like a normal horse's tail, but then it ends in like this like bony sort of like club.
Okay. Do your kind have had any previous encounters with my kind?
Yes,
Humans.
Yes, of course. We live a great deal longer than your kind, so it seems obvious that we would bump into you.
Yes, but would you say that had been amicable or hostile?
There have been others of your kind who have hunted my kind for trophies, sports, I don't know exactly what, but it is not our way to judge others on the actions of other members of their race.
That seems very civilized of you.
Well, after all, does the good Lord not teach us that forgiveness is divine?
I believe that's your cure, the virus.
Step forwards, because I imagine I've been kind of like staying well back. And like, my name is Tiberius Gallus. Do you tell me that you are a follower of the one true God?
Well, yes, of course. I've seen many things in my 800 years. I've seen much evil in the world, but I've also seen much good. I've seen men of faith do terrible, horrible things, and yet I've seen others of faith struggling against great odds to bring light into the world despite very difficult and often horrendous circumstances. How is it possible that I could have viewed all of this and not believe that there is some greater plan behind it all?
Because indeed, I find it so hard to believe that you have seen such things and know such wondrous things, even in the length of time that you have lived, but there has been so little retained or spoken about your species.
It is not our way to impose ourselves on others, and as I've said, our dealings with your kind have not always been pleasant. We prefer to remove ourselves and remain in seclusion. I'm sure, as a man of faith, there are those of your own kind who, for the peace of their own spirits, retreat into seclusion with only their faith and the natural world to surround them.
Indeed, just as the son did seclude himself into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights.
At which point it seems to like misunderstand your reference to like sun. Obviously you're referring to the sun, whereas it thinks you're talking about the sun up in the sky, and it says, well, yes, but it is the sun, and it like lifts its head to look up to like where the sun's just sort of like starting to go down. It is not the sun, the very face of God himself, looking down upon us all.
I'll kind of look a bit blank and just kind of like look at Dane.
He just nods. We have traveled for many days through the woods. Would you be against if we camp near your place here?
I have no objections.
Possibly you would be willing to talk to us if we camp here. My brother Wolfric is very learned, and I'm sure share information.
If that is what you wish, on the morning my Harris will return to bring me their reports on the goings-on throughout the Kelderburn, and I must speak to them. But for the meantime, I am happy to talk.
Regarding that, we came across some what we would call bandits that makes their living by preying on the trade that goes through the forest along the road. We understand they have a camp near or somewhere in the forest. Have your Harris or yourself come across these bandits?
Their camp is 4 days' flight at a slow fly to the south of here. It was where we used to meet near the statue of the saint, but when these humans came, they toppled the statue, and not wishing a further confrontation, we removed ourselves and travelled northwards to where you find me now.
Our paths have crossed with these, and we feel obliged to remedy the situation of these praying bandits. I trust you have no objection to this.
They are of your kind. It is not my way to interfere unless the forest is threatened, and the Kelderburn is more than capable of caring for itself. The only damage they have done is to a statue that was erected long ago by members of your own kind. I do not seek to place myself as judge over those who are not of my kind.
I would very much like to just repair this statue. It's a statue of a saint. Surely it must be repaired.
That is man's business.
Are there many more Harrises like yourselves in this country?
Not so many of us now. Once upon a time there were. Alas, we are the last of the great Harrises of my kind. As I say, many of us have been hunted and killed. Those who remain, most left for other lands, seeking a place where they could be safe in seclusion. I and my Harris chose to remain in the Kelderburn, protecting it as we can and seeking to ensure that harmful influences do not spread from the Kelderburn to beyond.
Indeed, and I understand that you also met with the gentleman with the lower horse half, Samson.
Yes, I know of him. It is a sad thing for one to be cast out from one's own kind for being different. He is a soul with much sorrow. But it is my hope that he may find peace within the Kelderburn.
Indeed. I'll kind of like lean back to Wolfric and just be like, Wolfric, I don't know if I should ask or if it's impertinent to ask. Do you think their tails grow back?
I seem to recall some lizards detaching their tails. Obviously, they will grow new ones.
Do you think we could, if that's the case, if another information, offer help them in return?
For a tail?
Indeed, he seems quite amenable and religious. I was prepared for this.
I think, for future, Tiberius, I think we should keep this moment in mind when we discuss the viability of religion in the future.
I don't quite follow.
It's a lizard horse in a forest. Talking about your one god.
Yes?
He's sort of exasperated, spread his hands like, what do you mean? On the topic of the tail, I don't.
Possibly you could ask, and I'll just kind of give you a gentle push to the front.
Yes, hello. The aforementioned learned brother, Ulfric Gallus. One of the things that they did not include in my curriculum, though extensive it was the sort of body composure, the way that your body is composed, is of some interest to me. I did study medicine, arts of the body.
You are an apothecary.
I did not actually go the whole way, but I did study some of it. Yes, the physical illnesses of the body and how they may be. Well, anyway, it occurs to me that there are some rather smaller species of lizard and other crawling things in the south that share some, at least on the surface, share some traits with yours truly. I was wondering whether or not actual limb regrowth is a part of your framework.
Alas, the good Lord has not seen fit to bless me with that ability.
Yes, I just thought it's incredibly interesting if it was so quite large as you are.
This is also interesting for me. It is rare that one of my kind has chance to converse with such civility with those of your kind. It has been 125 years since I've last spoken to one of your kind in this manner.
I look to Tiberius, like out the corner of my eye, and I just mouth the the year that he just gave. Just like. Yes, quite. It is very unfortunate that the great academies of Great London cannot sustain enough teachers and facilities to allow the whole country to be as learned as some are. I actually looked to Dane with a raised eyebrow of like, are we doing this, or?
Dane's like sneaking behind it with a pair of scissors.
I don't look like I'm necessarily in favor of doing this.
he I don't know. Can he convey that, John?
Well, I look at you like, mm-hmm.
As my friends have spoken about, we approach you in peace, and we wish to live in peace, causing no harm to yours, and hope no harm will come to ours.
Of course.
Well, when we started out hunting monsters, it seemed the monsters we found was of our own kind. Hint, hint, hint. So we thank you for your kindness and hospitality. And Dane has no intention of chopping off his tail or any other body part of
What's the name of the Lord, John, that was using the tails?
He was Lord Tamawort. Tamawort?
Tamewort.
Tamawort.
I'll kind of with intrepidation, just kind of like, what do you know of Lord Tamewort?
As you say this, it sort of like spreads its wings sort of wide, and it makes one of those like sort of snorts that horses do. Its eyes grow wide, and it says, "What do you mean to say the name of that wretch in this place?"
I sincerely apologize. I'm trying to understand why such hatred to your kind could be held by such a man, and what may have caused it.
No doubt human folly without any true belief in the one true God.
The Equinians seems to collect itself, and then it says, "If it were hatred of my kind, at least that would be understandable. But from what I know of this Lord Tamewort, he hunts my kind simply for our tails," and it sort of like flicks its tail around. He's got this huge like spiked club on the end of it to give us trophies to those of his kind he believes are worthy. It isn't worse than hatred. It is simple ignorance and greed.
Indeed. We will at some point have to go converse with this Lord Tamewort, and may I suggest that report to him that we found your kind had been driven out of the forest by the giants and other beasts in the woods. Hopefully that will give you some respite, a break from this.
I'll also suggest it to Dane and be like, and possibly Dane, we could suggest to him that using clubs made as such are deeply against the church.
Indeed. Would that be in your interest?
If our kind were no longer to be hunted in this manner, it would of course please me.
Well, I can give no guarantees. I can only promise that we will try to convince him.
Any efforts you were to make in this regard would be appreciated.
Well, then that is what we will do.
You have my thanks. And that of my Harris.
Okay. If we are to clear this bandit camp, would you return to there as a nest? I saying the term like nest.
It's very hard to describe, but you almost see like the horse sort of like smile slightly as you say that, and he says, "We would return to where the statue is. It is a very serene place, or it was at least. We will stay in this area. After all, we have there is greater evil in the Kelderburn that we have responsibilities to ensure it does not spread further.
What evils is this?
You're aware, of course, of the lake at the centre of the Kelderburn, from which the rivers flow into and out of.
I'll just kind of like look blankly.
Well, we were there.
Yeah, sir.
Beneath the southwestern waters of that lake is a huge stone statue of a great titan from time immemorial. It lurks beneath the waters many fathoms deep. In the realm of that statue there are creatures who cannot leave the water but seek to spread their influence beyond it, influencing those who are impressionable, those they believe they can use as servants. Through the actions of myself and my Harris, their influence is held in check.
These are called the Waterlords.
That is correct, or such they call themselves. I believe their leader has a far longer title, which I can relate to you if you have a few spare minutes. It is an extremely long and verbose title.
Well, yes. I mean, if he can put it in chat.
Very well. Their leader refers to himself as he who kills for pleasure, ruler of the black depths, the most noble and venerated of Naga kind, spitter of bile, tormentor of men, and master of the most dark and vile arts, High Lord Ib.
That's quite a title.
Indeed.
John, forbidden law.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me if you succeed.
Spitter of bile, tormentor of men.
No, but it's getting closer. So
Right,
this
well,
isn't my jam yet.
Well, you've not heard specifically of this High Lord Ib, but I'm also going to say you can make a roll to see if you know anything about Naga kind, because it's
Okay.
two separate things, effectively.
No.
Okay.
We're up again.
But to be fair, we know quite a lot about him already. Like he kills for pleasure, obviously. He rules the Black Deaths.
That's
Vile.
tormentor of men. Doesn't sound good. Master of dark arts. Most dark arts.
And vile arts.
Oh, he's modest as well. Most dark arts.
Yeah, it's not all dark. But I think it's meant in intention. It's
Yes.
very dark arts.
Yes.
But that certainly sounds like someone that is beneficial for everyone, both your kind and my kind, to be kept at bay.
Indeed. In the same manner as the serpent once wormed its way into paradise and tempted the innocents that were there, these serpentine creatures wear a hideous mockery of the faces of men.
Well, out of character, I think we found our level 10 quest.
That's right, and Lord, what's his name, will be one of the other random ones.
Well, Dane doesn't really have any more to. I mean, we can assume they have a civil conversation, but I don't have any questions more to ask. I don't have the others.
I'll offer him some of my ration biscuits. Softly stroke his nose.
He quite happily accepts the food from you. Okay, so assuming you guys are sort of like camping down here, obviously cross off a ration each. Again, anyone whose hit points down can recover a single hit point, because again, you've not had any combat or anything strenuous today.
Cool. And Danny is very happy that our resident ex-cultist is keeping to himself.
Yeah, you know that he's just been sort of like lurking around at the back of the group, sort of mainly keeping an eye on Richard, to be honest, to make sure he doesn't shank you in the middle of the night. But
That's good.
you all drift off to sleep, and you start to wake up in the morning. The sun rising again. It's very cold. You can see that the Equinian is still sort of like moving around the glade, like eating a bit of grass, etc. And the sun starts to rise in the morning. Now, let's see. Okay, so Tiberius, you happen to just like be on like the sort of last watch, so just as the sun's coming up, and as the sun's coming up, you see that as it rises above the horizon, the Equinian, this Lord of the Dark Boughs, as he's sometimes called, as the sun rises, he leaps up into the air, flapping his wings, sort of rises up towards the sun, sort of like does like a loop in the air, sort of letting the sun cascade over his scales. It's the most beautiful sight. And then he slowly glides back down to the earth and gently lands.
I'll say a little prayer to myself, and I'll actually take out a little like notebook and write an account of it.
Okay, lovely. And if now, obviously, I'm going to suggest this is where we end the session, guys, and then we can pick up next time with you like heading out to deal with these bandits or doing whatever you see fit. Does that sound okay for everybody?
Sounds good to me, mate.
Yep.
Okay, in which case, thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this session this evening.
Yeah, very much so, mate. Thank you for running.
Okay,
Yes.
no problems. Obviously, as always, I'm happy to chat for a bit afterwards. But for now, I'm going to thank whoever's watching this either now or in the future. Hope you enjoyed the game as much as I've enjoyed running it. And take care. We will see you all soon.